Welcome in, everybody. This is the Falcons podcast. It is a Wednesday edition before the Falcons play the Jets, coming off and still enjoying a week of a victory after beating the Saints and snapping a 5-game skid. Now, we're not really digging too much into the New York Jets matchup because, frankly, it's not that exciting. I had to look up. I'm like, who's even their quarterback? I'm like, Tyrod Taylor. Bro, I covered Tyrod Taylor in 2004 at the first Army All-American game I was at. They tried to make him an athlete, and his parents sat down with the people there and said, no, he's either going to play quarterback or he's going home. And joke was on them because he's been in the league now for a dozen years, and here we are 20 years later. He's still playing quarterback. So Tyler Taylor, but I want to get into I'm going to set the show. I was looking around. I was like, I'm not sure what we want to talk about. I want to talk about some NFL draft. I want to talk about some free agency, but I'm not sure that that's a great hook to get started. So I went and checked on ESPN, and Mark Raimondi, the ESPN beat writer for the Atlanta Falcons, and he probably didn't title this, so don't get me wrong. Are the Falcons due for a reset at quarterback? Now, we talked about that a lot on Monday, so we'll address it. And Nick didn't have a chance to weigh in. And then I want to talk a little bit of draft. The Falcons can absolutely get some help in this draft coming up, starting in the second round. And then I want to talk a couple free agent targets, and I want to get Nick's thoughts on those. So with that note, Nick, welcome in. How you doing? Check your mic. I got a little bit of an echo on there.
A little echo, huh? Well,
yeah, I think it might be coming. I think it's coming through your computer.
Oh, you think the sound is coming through my computer? It says Yeti. I don't know.
Okay.
Yep.
Good to go. You're good to go then. Here we go.
Okay. Yeah. I'm doing okay. Can't complain. Got Summit behind me. He's stinky though. He brought up one of my wife's tennis shoes, as he likes to do. But that's okay. Doing pretty well. Started the new job this last week, so the onboarding and everything has been a blast. And we have, speaking of a blast, the cold weather finally coming here. I lived in the very temperate, very small range of temperature, Pacific Northwest for a bit, and we had first 25-degree morning with wind, and I was like, oh my God, I forgot what cold feels like. So feeling old, feeling cold, but excited to see how it plays out. And I don't know if Jay is breaking news here. He says Stetson Bennett to the Falcons, probably just manifesting Georgia connection there. But I'm doing okay.
Yeah,
and
I think one of the local radio hosts, Matt Chernoff, said, it might have been Matt. I don't know if it was Matt or not, saying, oh, let's get Todd Monken and Stetson Bennett and relive the glory days of the Georgia Bulldogs. I'm like, yeah, no, that's not really the way I want to go. I mean, I'd interview Monken and Stetson as a backup. All right. But yeah. I don't think that's the answer to your 8-year playoff drought.
No, probably not. But no, doing well. Cat's sitting here as well underneath me because I made the mistake of feeding him one time before the show because he was complaining so much. And now he thinks that's the routine. So yep, that's
it. Only takes one time for it to become a get bonus treats. No, this is now a thing. It only takes one time with an animal to become a habit, a good habit anyway. Something that they like.
Yeah,
but we do go live every morning, Monday and Wednesday, and then we go. I've been doing the gut reactions. I will be here this weekend, so we'll do another gut reaction following the Jets game because we like having the conversation with y'all. So Cashback Beats came in nice and early. He says, "Good morning. Do you think drafting a new quarterback is really a viable option compared to signing a bridge quarterback, considering our limited draft picks?" So, just to address it early, since I've got it on the title, are they back to square one at quarterback? And again, I'm riffing off this. More people are going to read that ESPN article than are going to watch this video. That's just the way it is. So, if you happen to see that and you're like, what are they talking about? We talked about this on Monday. There's concerns that Michael Penix's injury could be longer lasting. Kirk Cousins is on a $57 million cap hit next year. He's not going to restructure without taking more money. And the Falcons don't want to give him more money and push a 38-year-old quarterback's dead money into his 40 and 41st season. So you're paying Kirk Cousins on the books until the year 2030. Yes, that's a possibility if you restructure this guy. 2030. Good God. Michael Penix, if he's not ready, do you need somebody else to be ready? Now, because you don't have a number 1 overall pick, and because Michael Penix is due to be healthy by the time the season rolls around, and because he is on a guaranteed rookie contract, Michael Penix is your starting quarterback when he becomes healthy in 2026. And right now, They say, people say, oh, 9 months. Oh my God, he's out this, he's out that. He's not in traction for 9 months. He's not in a wheelchair for 9 months. They mean on the field playing football in 9 months. He'll be out doing, you can, after ACL surgery, you can be walking around in a brace after a couple of weeks. You can throw the ball around. So he'll be able to go through a lot of his off-season things. Are the Falcons back to square one? No, they're not. Michael Penix is their quarterback. He will get 2026 to prove that he belongs to be their quarterback. And if he can stay healthy, do we have big concerns about that happening, Nick? Yes, we do.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this is a setback for him. This is the other leg, fortunately, but still something that sets him back as far as the progress goes in the evaluation. And it builds in valid excuses, but it still muddies the evaluation picture of whether or not he can be the guy, right? Like we could be a year from now and it's like, well, he kind of looks like the same guy, but he had the injury. So like, is it fair to evaluate him and judge him? The clock's ticking. I mean, you have to go off what you have. The one thing I will say as far as resetting the quarterback clock for the Broncos or for the Falcons, and I'm 100% with you about Penix getting next season, maybe even part of the season after that. But there is always the variable that changes when you potentially bring in a new front office and a coaching staff when it's not their guy. And because we still have, with the injuries and the tape we've seen from Penix, like he's not a no doubt franchise quarterback. Especially if there's a new coaching staff and front office coming in, you have to do your due diligence with the upcoming draft class. But that's with the understanding that like your odds of hitting a franchise quarterback outside of the first, top 10, top 15 is like depending on winning a scratcher to feed your family. Like it's not good business. You're in trouble already, buddy. So again, you're going to have to go through and do the work on the quarterback class. Maybe you draft somebody as well because you do have questions about the backup quarterback for this team. Obviously, Cousins isn't going to be here. I think there's somebody in this chat that was a big Easton Stick fan. I don't think that's.
I think that was just more along the lines. I'd almost rather see Easton Stick right now than Kirk Cousins.
Okay.
Like, yeah, I'm okay with that again.
Yeah.
I want this team to be successful, and I was happy watching them play the Saints. I really was. Yeah. When Kirk Cousins threw that touchdown to Darnell Mooney, and he got embraced and lifted up in the air, and I was happy for them. I want to see more of that. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's Kirk Cousins. I don't care if it's Easton Stick. I don't have anything against Kirk Cousins. What's he supposed to do? Turn down that money? No, it's not his fault that was a bad deal. Get your money, Kirk. Kirk's a better quarterback than Easton Stick.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the reason I push back against that is because you have to still put the players out there in a position to succeed because they're game by game trying to get a second contract. But getting back to the point, as far as Penix goes, especially if it's a new regime and you have questions about Penix, you have to do the due diligence of evaluating the quarterback crop. I think there is options here. And honestly, Scott, even if you get a solid backup quarterback long-term, considering what Penix's injury history is like, that's not a bad ROI when backup quarterbacks are making $15 million a year plus. So again, it's something you'll have to evaluate. We'll see what happens with Fontenot and this coaching staff. Zach Robinson, I mean, he probably feels like a dead man walking at this point. But no, the Penix era is not over in Atlanta. He should still get at least next season, but we'll see what happens with the decision makers because that changes the formula.
If the Falcons if they lost that game to the Saints and they had their first round draft pick and they were sitting there at 3-8 and staring at the face of a top 5 pick and a complete and total regime change without any question, this conversation would be a little different.
100%.
And
it's not an indictment on Penix.
No, it's not.
We don't know. Yeah. So I see Winston saying,
this isn't their guy and they may not be sold on him and they want to come in and they need a reset, but right now, based on no first round pick, guaranteed contract, third season, he'll get 2026. Yeah. Michael Penix is a quarterback in 2026. Denver Luke says, good morning, Scott and Nick. Right back at you. He's got the coffee emoji. I'll drink to that one. And he says, is it too early for a little mock draft? No, I actually had it pulled up before we came on. So I'm planning on doing a little bit of mock draft. I want to talk to Nick about some of the guys that are in the range of the 40-ish range in the second round. where the Falcons can get some help. And the guy I put on the cover of this show is a 6'3", 330-pound defensive tackle out of Ohio State named Caden McDonald. Yes, please. I'm interested. I'm absolutely interested to hear more about him because I see him ranked in that 25 to 35 range. And we know that's not always the Bible. And interior defensive linemen have slipped a little bit in recent years, Nick. So he could be available in that range. That, wouldn't it be nice to have a top 40 defensive tackle, 6'3", 330 pounds in the middle of that defense? That'd be nice.
And he's
That'd
awesome.
Be nice to know. We do plan on doing that.
We'll get into it. Yep.
Let's see. Evan says, given the disaster that Terry has put us in, who do you think the new GM will use the franchise tag on? Think we have some good players and can't afford at the moment, like Zach Harrison. He's got one more year. Tyler Algier is a free agent. You're not going to put a franchise tag on him. You've got Bijan Robinson and Kyle Pitts. You're not going to franchise tag him because he's not good enough to get top 5 money on a 1-year deal right now for the Falcons. It'd be in the neighborhood of $15 million, or maybe it's even gone up a little bit since then, 15 to 17 on a 1-year deal. No thanks. I undersold the tight end market a little bit, Nick, when I was talking about what he might be worth on the free agent market. And he's a guy. He's just a guy right now. He's a jag. But an average tight end, if he's 15, that's $10 million. Mm-hmm. So I can see him getting a 3-year, $36 million, 25 guaranteed this year. I don't want the Falcons to pay it. I don't want the Falcons to pay it, and I don't want them to franchise tag him for 1 year either. I don't think he's earned it.
No, I think you got to move on from Pitts. What a unfortunate pick that has turned out to be. We don't have to rehash that. There's been plenty of chances to do that. But I don't think any of those guys are worth the franchise tag. And it's unfortunate because it kind of speaks to where the team is at right now. But you need to be, especially that like cash up front. Like I know Arthur Blank isn't like needing cash, but it's still, you need to have the cash available to put it in furlough. I'm not a finance guy, but where the focus needs to be as far as your immediate cash on hand needs to be escrow. You're right. Yep. Escrow. Thank you. Is need to be Drake London. That needs to be the priority. And you're talking about those franchise tags are all guaranteed completely up front. So you have to have that money in hand. No, that should be Drake London guaranteed 4-year, 5-year contract. Get that guy locked up. And, Algier Pitts, maybe you play the comp pick game. I don't know. I mean, you have enough holes, and without draft picks, it's kind of hard to like necessarily play that. Like the comp pick tends to be, as it's played out the last decade, the rich getting richer because like, oh, we're so good. We're just going to retain our own guys and draft, and we don't have the money to pay these other guys. So it's like the 49ers and the Ravens and the Chiefs have all these comp picks. Like, oh, la-di-da, great. This is a great system. But yeah, right now I think I don't think any of those guys probably end up getting the franchise tag.
Halsey says, why would a respectable NFL franchise plan to be bad at quarterback by settling on a 1-year bridge? Falcons need to add good players, and one good quarterback is enough in a league with a lot of injured quarterbacks. Well, one, it's questionable whether or not you could call the Atlanta Falcons, who haven't been into the playoffs in the last 10 years, a respectable franchise. As a franchise, are respectable, but are they a respectable team? No, not a lot of people around the NFL respect the Atlanta Falcons. That is well earned. But because you can't always fix. Now, there's a couple assumptions that you're making in here, Halsey, and one is that you're not changing Penix. You've already got Penix. You're right. Okay, you're right. And I've agreed with you when we started this. Penix is going to be the guy in 2026. However, you are going to need an insurance plan. You're going to need a decent quarterback, and you might need a bridge for September. You might need a bridge for August and September to get to 11 months of rehabilitation and Michael Penix being ready. That might be your bridge, not for a full season, but people do bridges all the time because they don't have a quarterback. It's just the Atlanta Falcons are the only team in the history of this game that have spent $100 million on their bridge in Kirk Cousins, and it has blown up in their faces spectacularly.
Yeah.
Most teams do it the way the Vikings did it. They got Sam Darnold, did well. You do it the way the Colts done it. Go get a Daniel Jones. Go get a Jacoby Brissett. Go get somebody like that to help ease in the next. I don't want to throw my rookie to the wolves when I'm a decent team. Let's see what happens. But that's why they need a good backup quarterback next year, no doubt. He doesn't need to cost $57 million. So that's why they'll be in the market for another quarterback next year. But when Michael Penix is healthy, he is your starting quarterback in 2026. I have very, very little doubt about that. Even if John's a little mad. John, good morning, and thanks for being a member. Because he's 25. He's been playing quarterback for at least 10 years and isn't comfortable under center, says everything. And I don't buy it. I refuse to buy it. I do not buy it. As far as, and if he isn't comfortable, so what? So I'd be more comfortable. He'd probably be. I mean, let's be honest here. If you could get him a Barca-lounger and kick his feet up, he'd probably be a lot more comfortable back there that way. I mean, he'd have nice support under his legs. It's not realistic, right? That's stupid, Scott. Yeah, well, so is putting him in an offense. It's going to fail. That's stupid too.
Yeah.
So, Nick, we haven't done as many shows together, so you may have heard me say the only thing that really makes sense to me is that they're just absolutely terrified. There's two things that make sense to me, unfortunately, and neither one of them's good. They're terrified of Eli Wilkinson, or they're chicken scratch in order to do the right thing for their quarterback. Do you think Sean Payton would say, I'm more comfortable running in the shotgun, coach? I don't care. That's not what we do here. Okay, there you go. Do you think Sean McVay's gonna say, oh, I like the shotgun better? Well, that's not what we're doing here. Are you the coach or not? Who's running this show? Because if you let the players run the show, you're going to get a 4-7 team and a lot of bad football.
Yeah, I will push back just slightly, Scott. That it's a fine line to walk, because you do want to put your quarterback in a position where they are confident and feel good, like they can succeed. And obviously, it's an indictment if Penix can't do that. It's something that, I mean, I wish
you will never, ever, 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 ever convince me that he turns into a 2-footed, left-handed version of me if you put him under center. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It is absolutely ridiculous. Do you prefer one thing to the next? Sure. That's human nature.
Yep.
You cannot play quarterback in this league under center. Baloney. And you can insert any other word you want to in there. You cannot play this league. You cannot play quarterback under center. You're either a first-round pick or you're a complete stiff. BS. No way. There is no way that's true.
Yeah, I just think the margins are so thin in the league that you have to take all advantages that you can. And if there is one that statistically you are better, considering how hard it is to just succeed in the passing game in general, you probably have to lean into it. I wish I had Sports Info Solution. I think it's like a $400 a month subscription. I bothered Sumer Sports a few times about adding a under center versus shotgun filter for that, just so I can see what the stats look like. I know that Penix has been one of the least under center quarterbacks in the league. Let's somebody out there in Atlanta, I got an assignment for you. Find Zach Robinson, get him nice and sauced up, and ask what's going on there, because I'm curious. What is the thought process there?
He just says he's more comfortable in the shotgun. I don't care. Then you need to Zach up and do what's right for this team. Again, I put it in writing, just in the comments and stuff. But coaching kids, and there is a difference. But coaching's coaching to a certain extent. Mm-hmm. As I'm developing kids doing this, let's say I'm playing soccer, okay? And you'll see a kid who's right-footed pass up a left-footed shot to then take the right-footed shot. I'm like, no, take it with your left foot. I'm not as good there. It's okay. Take it with your left foot. I would rather see you do it wrong and fail than do it right. I'm sorry. I'd rather see you do it right and fail than do it wrong and succeed. Because as you keep moving along the lines in the progression of your career, you're not going to have time to take that on your right foot. You're going to have to take it on your left foot. You're going to have to play under center. You're going to have to learn how to do this and be comfortable. Otherwise, you are not a professional quarterback. And if you're not doing that, then you are not a professional quarterback coach.
Yeah.
I don't buy it. I do not buy it.
It is a weird thread to pull out. We don't have to rehash it. It's just something that, like, you look at the data, it's like, why is this happening? When the rest of the league is showing that the under center stuff, heavier personnel is working. Now, granted, you have to do what's your quarterback wants to do at the end of the day. And I hate to do the appeal to authority, but they have more information than we do from the outside. So I don't know. But it is something that we'll keep an eye on going forward, no doubt, because the data is the data. We got Little Falcon Boy coming in here. Is that related to the Little Drummer Boy? Says, good morning. Little Falcon Boy is here to ask questions that everyone needs to know.
And he left me hanging. He knows I'm like OCD about this. So I've been twitching. He left me hanging. When was that first comment? The question everybody wants to know. It was 15 minutes before he finally asked the question. I've been twitching ever since. What? What's the question? What do we all need to know? So everyone in the NFC South lost this week, and I think we can go on a little run here. What do we think? What do you think? I think it's possible. The Seahawks, the Rams are still out there. The Buccaneers have come back down to earth. We talk about the slim margins all the time, Nick, and how they were pulling rabbits out of hats the first 5-6 weeks of the season. And then they run into some stiffer competition and they've lost 3 straight. So I was looking at NFL.com and their power rankings, and I think it's either 19, 20, or 21. Let's just say that's what it is. I'm off by 1, maybe. But they have Carolina Panthers ahead of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 19, the Buccaneers at 20, and the Falcons at 21. 19, 20, 21. When people talk about the NFC South has been there for the taking and nobody's taking it but the Buccaneers, this is what they're talking about. Yeah, the Falcons can go on a little run. The problem is the Buccaneers' schedule, 1, is about to get easier, and 2, they still have to play the Panthers twice. So the best you can hope for is a split, and you can only make up 1 game.
You also lost the head-to-head to the Panthers, who are ahead of you as well. It could end up being, nobody in the NFC South should maybe get a chance. That's so stupid they added the 7th seed, Scott. Like, the quality of that 7th team is, I know the TV money.
This year in the NFC, it's not going to be too bad.
Well, I'm thinking there are not 7 caliber playoff teams, and this year, unfortunately, it's the NFC South on the whole.
Well, yeah, and that's the problem is you have the division winners, but it's I ran through the playoff scenarios yesterday and who I thought was going to do what, and I left a 10-7 team out.
Yeah,
so the 7th seed was 10-7. I'm like, there's that, and that's historically playoff worthy.
Yeah, I think
so. The NFC South is a little. The NFC has got some pretty good teams, at least record wise.
Yeah, Bears are like the
easiest path. The easiest path to get to the playoffs is still through the division, and you're 3 tiebreakers behind because you lose the first tiebreaker to the Panthers. At best, you tie the first tiebreaker to the Buccaneers if you split, and then it comes down to divisional record, which you're 1-3 right now.
Thanks, Saints.
2 losses, 3 losses, 1-3 right now. So you're behind them too.
I don't know. The playoff picture isn't coming up. I think the Bears are like the worst point differential team at 8-3 in like 20 years, or whatever they are. So,
and the Patriots,
the record, I guess.
Do we really feel great about the Patriots and Colts right now? As far as being, AFC juggernauts?
No. I'm not. I think that they shouldn't have expanded to 7 teams. That's all.
You know how I feel about the playoffs anyway. I can't stand the playoffs.
Yeah,
as far
let's
as
just let everybody get in.
I can't stand it.
It's
like I saw someone say, there's only been 1 team that's been eliminated so far. We're in week 13. Only 1 team has been mathematically eliminated.
Yeah.
Yay! That's exactly what the NFL wants. And for me, I don't know if it's because I grew up in Atlanta or if it's just my nature, but I always had to find someplace else in the 80s to watch compelling games because the Falcons were usually out of it by Halloween. And when you expand the playoffs, the games aren't as compelling because more teams are just going to get in the playoffs anyway. So I'm not a big fan of playoffs. Good thing here in Atlanta since we don't see them very often. Corey, I'm glad you got out and were able to spend some time with us. He says, got my Thanksgiving Day grocery shopping done, and now I can stay home the rest of the day. Glad you were able to get out. Rusty, here we go. Need life advice, fellas. My son is 3 and starting to show more interest in football. Is it child abuse to raise him as a Falcons fan? Well, I'll be honest, Rusty. It was the one team that I didn't give my and they probably won't be sports fans. If they're anything like kids nowadays, they don't watch sports, brother. I worry. It's like, what is this going to be like? We've got to reach a tipping point with how many people are watching and how much money is being generated, because kids aren't watching the sports. My kid plays baseball. He doesn't watch baseball. He doesn't watch any football. But the Falcons are the one, because my kids were born in LA and they didn't have a team. And I was like, they can even choose the damn Lakers if they want to. But that was the one I forced on them with gear and all this kind of stuff, because there's not enough Falcons fans out there. Yeah, you're kind of born into it. So, it's not like nobody's hopping on the Falcons bandwagon. And I said it's a green flag when someone's a Falcons fan. They got low expectations and they're super loyal. Those are my kind of people. those are my kind of people, Rusty.
Yeah.
Certainly appreciate you. So
easy for me to say, Scott, but I think that in general, sports at the end of the day are entertainment and relationships as well. And it's something that if you and your son can share, like, you don't have to force it on him, like playing or liking football in general, but if it's something that comes to him naturally, I wouldn't dissuade him. It's been like, you don't have to be like, this is our team. But I mean, one of my favorite things about the Broncos is my memories of watching the games with my dad. So again, it's beyond the football field. It's those relationships and memories that you make as well. So not to be overly sentimental, but I think that, if he comes to it naturally, then I wouldn't push him away by any means.
Talking about, possible quarterbacks next year, Davis Mills is under contract for one more year, and I don't think the Falcons are in position to trade, and his price just went up, y'all. Davis Mills' price has gone up. And it's despite the fact that these guys are playing football and the new generation, like right now, the COVID generation, they're older coming in. Michael Penix was 24, Bo Nix was 24, Jane Daniels was 24, Tyler Shuck was 24. They're older, and it still takes them time to adjust to this league. It's still there. They can play longer though. So, Nick, you and I had gone back and forth on this about, the progressions for quarterbacks. Well, I think you've got to change that timeline a little bit where, they can click at 26, 27 years old. Things can change for them and it's so important if they're in the right system, if they've got the right coaching. It feels more like college football to me now. The quarterback position feels more like college football to me.
Because it's all shotgun? No,
the coach and the system is more important than necessarily the player and, the team around them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt. I'm looking at the quarterbacks as well. I mean, a lot of the guys I've seen names thrown out here. The Falcons had like a huge amount of draft picks coming up this season. Maybe you talk about a trade for somebody in the last year of his contract, but you're sitting there with 4 picks right now, 5 picks. Yeah, you need everything you can hold on to just for the sake of like how you set up your salary cap and rolling over cost-controlled guys that are hitting in increments year by year. So I can't imagine something like that. And looking at the free agency market again, I know we talked about earlier about Penix, and I want to give a shout out to, I don't know who it was in the chat, saying, you guys really talking about this? It's like, there was an article about Penix time being up. So it's not really, we both were like, that's not happening, but why would it make sense? Just talking through the hypotheticals. It's where the Falcons season is at right now. But
yeah, that's why we addressed it early. Yeah. I mean, we talked about it a lot on, what does this mean? We talked about it a lot on Monday. Michael Penix is your quarterback in 2026.
Yeah. It's
no, and all bets are off for 2027. I'm not going past that.
A lot of it is, we're talking abstract to some extent with that and why it makes sense, just hashing through it academically. But like names that stick out for me next year, Scott, you already mentioned them today, but like a guy who's like no threat at all to Michael Penix, but like could be a veteran to guide him, kind of showing some of this stuff and get you through a few games. Tyrod Taylor is out there again, very much a backup at this point. If the crop doesn't look good, but I think it's probably better than Easton Stick.
Who I saw down at the bottom who had some success and he had a good coach? Gardner Minshew.
Minshew, maybe.
Minshew. Yeah. If I need a guy for a month and I want him to be a backup, Minshew came in and was a backup to Anthony Richardson. He's a pro's pro, and he comes in and does the job the right way, and he can do a job when he's called upon.
Yeah.
And it's funny, people say, what are you talking? Well, this is what we're talking about, y'all. We're talking about backup quarterbacks. You don't spend $57 million on a backup quarterback. Mm-hmm. So Gardner Minshew, he's terrible. Well, who do you want as a backup quarterback? There's not a lot of great options out there.
No. I was more so
going through that. He's only on like $3 million. Do you want Zach Wilson? Tyrod Taylor, he's 38, maybe.
I'm just talking mainly, like, I think Gardner Minshew, if your goal is to like bridge through a few games, that makes more sense. But my perspective was honestly more Michael Penix driven. And I think Tyrod, from what I've heard about him, would be an excellent mentor for him. And the name who really sticks out, the one I really wanted to get to, was Teddy Bridgewater as well, who retired for a second, but as I've heard, a really good presence there in Miami. And I think he could really help solidify things as well. Because it's been a weird, obviously, from what we've heard, a weird situation dynamic-wise between Kirk Cousins and Penix, understandably so, with everything there. But bringing in somebody like Tyrod, or specifically Bridgewater, who is a player coach at this point, could be good for Penix, in my opinion. But again, it's not a great market. And you mentioned Zach Wilson too. I mean, he's talented. The arm talent is there. That's one that's a little bit more dice roll, lottery ticket competition for Penix, in my opinion, versus we have somebody in here that can stabilize things and like point Penix in the right direction.
But I mean, you're talking about guys, when you start looking at this list, you know who the fourth highest paid free agent quarterback is? I mean, Daniel Jones is number one. He's going to get a big deal. Aaron Rodgers is 42 years old. He's number two. Number three is Russell Wilson. He's washed. Number four is actually Marcus Mariota.
Yeah.
Zach Wilson is fifth. Tyrod Taylor is sixth. Then you start going down in some of the names that are free agents, and not all these guys are going to end up free agents. Some might retire. Some might get re-signed. Jimmy Garoppolo, Kenny Pickett, Mitch Trubisky, Case Keenum, Trey Lance, Josh Johnson. He's played for 72 teams. Carson Wentz got my attention as a possibility. Malik Willis is a free agent after this year. And then I go down and I see, Jake Browning's restricted, but Gardner Minshew is only making 1.2 this year in Kansas City.
Who's the name I see here?
Under Reed. But John asked real quick, Nick, do we force Penix to go under center in the offseason? It's not a force. You got to get it out of your head that he's blocking this move. No, I'm not doing it. That's not possible. It's absolutely not possible. Call plays where he's under center. You know where he's going to end up? He'll end up under center because he's a quarterback and it's his job.
Yeah, I mean, gonna have to figure it out, right? If he's going to sign in the league, stay in the league for a bit. I see somebody asked about Winston, Justin Fields. I think both those guys are still signed up for a bit. You know who stylistically might be a Penix fit as well, although I have a bad taste about the mentor stuff from him when he was in Denver. But Joe Flacco, I mean, just the big-armed quarterback who's more, pocket-oriented, who can, hit every blade of grass. That's one out there. And Maurice comes in and says, we'll get Deshaun Watson. Hopefully Deshaun Watson is blackballed in the league. But he's one.
Played like 3 good games of football in the last 4 years.
Yeah. And you don't want to mess with that at all. And I see we got a super chat here from Jay Bergen saying, enjoying the content. Well, appreciate you. Thank you so much. That's awesome. We enjoy you coming here and leaving.
Appreciate the support. Become a member. The link's in the description, and you can hit join wherever you're watching too. Will be on the YouTube thing. That's it helps us out a lot, especially during the dog days when Google's playing with our businesses and Facebook's messing around with our businesses. That y'all can support us directly like this. It's a big help. Helps us keep us being able to do what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. We are in like the last 15 minutes or so, Scott. You did want to talk a little draft, I think, as well.
Yeah, there's a couple things I wanted to get to. So let's say, I was looking at Tankathon. I'm like, okay, for me, the two biggest needs for this team right now are wide receiver and cornerback.
Immediate.
Like right now, what can I fix right now? So I'm not talking quarterback.
Yeah,
that's handled. Whether it ends up being the right way or not, you're not going to fix that this offseason. But I can get a good wide receiver and I can get a good cornerback in the second round. The next biggest need for me might be offensive tackle, but it's definitely defensive tackle. So the guy I put on the front of the cover of this show talking about offseason needs was Caden McDonald, who, let me see, NFL Draft Database has him at 35 right now. And I looked up his profile. I'm like, it fits round peg, round hole for what the Falcons could use in the middle of their defense right now. What do you know about him? I know you watch a lot of Big Ten. What do you know about Caden McDonald?
He's a unit, man. Ohio State has kind of turned into what Alabama was for a number of years with a first-round pick after first-round pick out there. They're definitely the deepest team. Sorry, the Georgia fans in here, SEC fans. The SEC is better top to bottom, but Ohio State's the most talented roster right now, without a doubt. And he is kind of that immovable object out there, very strong. Now, you're not going to get too much as far as pass protection overall, or pass rush from him, but he is so strong. And you hear a lot of the Sonny Styles hype with Ohio State this season. Obviously, Caleb Downs and Arvell Reese, who's going to end up being a top 8 pick in this upcoming draft. He has a chance to go number 1 overall. It'll be a quarterback because that's just the market. And there's not that, like, no doubt superstar edge tackle wide receiver. But I digress. I think that he is somebody who he's going to do a lot of the dirty work. Now, you might be able to find the nose tackle for like pennies on the dollar. Like, there's always guys out there that can like fill this role, but long term, I think he is a plus player. It's kind of like the Lions taking, again, I hate to do the helmet scouting, but like Tyleik Williams last season. If you like box score you're going to be like, oh, I mean, first round pick, what are we doing here? But you watch him, it's like, oh my God, he is getting so much attention and displacing blockers. And because of that, they can live in base and they're just dominating and mucking things up front across the line of scrimmage. So he is really good. I don't think there's a really necessarily a dominant defensive tackle, interior defensive line class this season, but I do think McDonald is one of like 3 or 4 that could be going in that 20 to 40 range in this upcoming class. And there's some depth at nose tackle as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be your second round pick. You should have some options round 3, round 4 as well. Granted, sometimes those positions are a little bit more developmental in the league because it's a grown man game and the technique is totally different for some of those interior offensive linemen in college compared to the NFL. You can't just get by being bigger and stronger. You have to understand the game and what you're doing with your hands and leverage and everything. But yeah, McDonald's awesome. He's doesn't have as much hype right now because he wasn't playing so much last season. Didn't have the offseason, summer scouting excitement because he was behind a first round pick. But he's definitely a nose tackle to keep an eye on. The other ones who stand out for me that are not necessarily the nose tackles per se, but
I got enough not necessarily nose tackles per se on this team between Zach Harrison, Brandon Dorlus, and Ruka Rohuro. They don't need another 290-pound lean guy. They need somebody with space, or they need to go in another direction.
Okay, so what I'm talking about here is I think it still is like McDonald is a 0 or 1. Mm-hmm. I see some 1 and 3s out there that are still big. You're not talking about your 4-eye slender types, but you're talking still like 310 pounds. Like, they have
310 would be the second heaviest defensive lineman on the Falcons right now,
which is why I think they're at least worth discussing, right? But you have Amari Washington from Oregon, who is probably I'm just going to tell you, Scott, he'll be the one that we fall in love with at the combine because he's way too explosive for how big he is. Like, it's like, if you can figure this out, we got something there. But he is crazy athletic for his position, 6'3", 330. You got Georgia fans will know this, Christian Miller from Georgia, 6'4", 310. And then you have Caleb Banks, who's been injured this season, but man, he is monstrous. Sorry, go ahead.
Outside though, he's like 270.
Caleb Banks?
I looked him up again because I thought I remembered him inside, and I looked him up twice, and it said 6'7", 260.
I think he's like 330, 320. You can look that one up. You guys,
I was confused. I confused myself.
No, he's huge.
Because I've watched him. I'm like, yeah, I've seen him. He's really good in the middle.
Yes.
Yeah, he's listed 6'6", 230, 330. So I don't know what else.
330. Okay, I was going to say like that.
Apologies. Caleb Banks is a beast. He's right in that range. If I look at
exactly
NFL Draft Database, Caleb Banks comes in at 37, and that's why I looked him up. And I'm like, man, I don't remember him being a Calais Campbell type. I remember him being bigger than that. But you start doubting yourself when you're in a hurry. Happened to me the other day. I was like, wait, who made that tackle?
No, his issue has been health.
Real quick, yes, Major. I want to take care of our contributors
Yeah.
while we're having this conversation. It's your show too. So when any of these quarterbacks want to come to Atlanta, you talk about a guy like Gardner Minshew, and I'm sure I'm going to get some hate posts after the fact. But again, I ask you, we're talking backup quarterbacks. That's who they are, y'all. I'm not talking about, Michael Penix is my quarterback in 2026. Who do I want as a backup? I'd rather have Gardner Minshew at $1.5 million than Kirk Cousins at $57 million. And I don't think that's all that illogical. So, Gardner Minshew at 1.5, yes, major. Does he come in at 5? Does he care about, you're going to be a backup. Oh, and by the way, you're backing up Michael Penix, so you might get a pretty good chance you'll get to play. That's what I'd be selling him if I'm his agent. And you're going to get, they doubled your next best offer. Yeah. Because unfortunately, y'all, any backup quarterback that comes to Atlanta next year thinks he's going to play. That's how I would be. And that's, it's a selling point. It's just reality, y'all.
Yeah.
If I'm a backup, I'm going to need a backup quarterback that can play. It just can't cost $60 million.
No.
So, Kirk Cousins could restructure. If Kirk Cousins restructures, it means you're going to pay him more money just to push what he has left on his contract, which is about $80 million down the line. That's asinine.
Yeah.
And after the way things have gone, he's just playing good soldier right now. I don't think he wants to be with the Atlanta Falcons anymore. So I would, if they said, the Falcons just announced that they released Kirk Cousins and they're signing Gardner Minshew to a 1-year, $5 million deal with all 5 of it guaranteed. I'd be like, okay, yeah, it makes sense. It's a good move.
Yeah.
I could live with that because Michael Penix is your quarterback next year if he's healthy.
As he should be.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, at this point, it depends on where you fall in the 2027 class, but he should probably get it a year and a half, 2-year window here. But one game at a time. We'll have a much better understanding at that point of what
Troy says. Trade Pitts. You can't. He's a free agent. You'd have to tag him first, and that's a $15 million guarantee. And then at this rate, he'd be untradeable because he's not played to that amount of money. So you can't trade Pitts. But find a big old boy in the middle with a couple of character concerns. Now, one of my coaching friends was talking about you need some of those guys in the locker room. You need a couple thugs out there, especially on defense. He says you can't have too many because you'll lose the locker room. But by God, I need a couple thugs on this team. And I understand it. It's a gladiator game. They can't all be nice guys. You need a couple guys that are, and frankly, you're a little bit crazy, even if it's just OCD, to make it at this level and play at this level anyway. But you need a couple guys on that team that are not quite wired right. Again, we're talking Broncos with Denver. I produced the Bronco show, so I know them very well too. I use them as a lot of anecdotes. Alex Singleton, linebacker, diagnosed testicular cancer. His biggest fear was that he was afraid to tell his teammates that he was going to miss a game because he was going to miss a game. And he was going to let them down. That's insane.
Yeah,
that's insanity. We like that. You need a couple of those guys out there. So I'm with you, Troy.
You need a little bit of unhinged is the word I would use. Unhinged.
Yeah. You need a couple of those guys.
Yeah.
You need the discipline out there too. I'd love to know more about Caden Ellis. I feel like Caden Ellis is a little nuts.
Yeah. You playing football, you have to be a little.
You have to, especially line. Yeah. You've got to. Again, I already said that. You've got to be a little nuts out there.
You want fullback mentality, right? I'm not going to get the ball at all, but guess what I'm going to do? Run into a wall for 60 minutes. God bless you.
I want to hit on a couple of free agents too, and it might just be wide receivers on this because I want to throw some names at you at wide receiver because the Falcons need 2 wide receivers. Chris, good to see you, my friend. He says I wouldn't mind Minshew being here. Cheap backup. That's kind of the way most teams do it. We need wide receiver, cornerback, nose tackle, offensive tackle, and depth for next year. And I would throw in linebacker as a big need too. I forgot who else said it. I think it was Rudy. Good to see you, Rudy. You do need linebacker, and hopefully they re-sign Caden. There's no guarantee that happens. It could. I think the only 2 linebackers on contract for next year are J.D. Bertrand and Devon Diablo. So there's no guarantee that Caden Ellis comes back for sure. So let's talk as far as what Chris says here. We went over a couple of the defensive linemen. I don't know that I'm getting an offensive tackle that I really like compared to the availability of wide receivers and corners at that spot in the second round. Let me throw a couple names at you that are hovering around that area. Kevin Concepcion, Texas A&M, wide receiver. We mentioned Caleb Banks. You mentioned Amari Washington. He's in there too. Chris Brazzell, Tennessee, wide receiver. I'm hitting wide receivers right now. Jeremy Bernard, Alabama, wide receiver. And then if a couple guys maybe slip a little bit, I think I said Chris Bell, Louisville. Denzel Boston out of Washington, possibly. Yeah. And then Mekhi Lemon out of USC.
He'll be gone.
Yeah, I mean, I went up to like 15 when I went up. Sometimes
his teammate's more in the option for you guys. Ja'Cory Lane, who might be the most underrated wide receiver in football because he's playing opposite of Lemon. But wide receiver makes a lot of sense for you guys. You talk about Zachariah Branch. I mean, maybe he's a little bit more specialist speed demon, which with the way your special teams has been this year, maybe it'd be nice to get Branch. Tate is going to be going in the top 15. You're not going to get Carnell Tate. It's between him and Jordan Tyson for the first wide receiver off the board, in my opinion. And Tyson's missed like 40% of his available games in his career. So I would take Tate first. And Scott, I always say, like, don't helmet scout. I think we need to add an asterisk to that, unless they play wide receiver at Ohio State. Then just take.
I do it with defensive players from Alabama too.
Yeah, but I mean,
and it's starting to become that way with Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, but like Ohio State wide receivers, holy cow! I mean, the only one that's not been a hit here of late is Marvin Harrison Jr. And I wonder how much
the best one of the bunch. Isn't that funny how that works?
Yeah. I will say, and Tate, I feel like is getting the Egbuka a little bit. Maybe he's getting the Egbuka bounce from this, but Egbuka was overthought last season because people see Jeremiah Smith on the other side and just start like hyperventilating, which understandably, he'd go number 1 overall in this class. But Tate is awesome. I mean, his ability to separate and move despite being 6'3", he looks like a player who's like 5'11" with his body control and his ability to start and stop. And I don't know if anybody has better like sideline coordination and acrobatics than Tate this season. So I think Tate is awesome. He's going to be gone though. So we don't have to wait too much tight. He's awesome. But yeah, I think this team right now, I mean, it makes sense, Scott. I know you talked about offensive tackle. This is a weird offensive tackle class, though. There's not like the top guys. So you might be able to take somebody who's traits based. Maybe they get elevated at the end, but there's going to be somebody here day 2 offensive tackle that's going to end up being a fine starter long term. You got the guy out of Northwestern who's really smart, might play guard in the league, but like I get the best 5 out there.
When I get back from the Senior Bowl, we'll talk about day 3 offensive linemen. We've done really well with those guys.
Yeah.
On third, even late day 2, third, 4th round, 5th round guys, we've done really well picking out at least one of those guys every year.
Yeah, tackle's always hard though. You got I know Nicky Prongos out of Stanford has some fans. He's a crazy athlete out there, and Blake Miller has been like the next thing out of Clemson for a while. Not a good run blocker, but like big, long, and moves pretty well. Just not a very good tackle class. But I mean, what is the first thing I said when you drafted Michael Penix, Scott? You need to build the offensive line. Yep, the offensive line has to be the priority long term. So I know that more immediately, like you mentioned, cornerback and wide receiver, but like build the line first and foremost. That needs to be the core identity of this team.
Yeah, I worry about being able to do that with the second round with a guy that wouldn't be an upgrade over a coming back Caleb McGarry. So I think of it possibly next year.
Yeah.
As 2027. Hopefully you're not back in the quarterback market. AJ, speaking of wide receiver, Darnell Mooney has to be a cut candidate, right? Right. We saved money by cutting him and by leave. It's about $7.5 million. So I think he's on. I just looked it up and I forgot, but the number is 7.5. He's on next year. He is on a 18.5 cap hit, dead of 11. So yeah, he won't be back. He did the exact same thing in Chicago. He got off to a hot start and then tailed off. I don't really understand it that well. Let me throw a couple of wide receiver names at you that I was looking at. Let me see here. I actually wrote them down separately so I wouldn't have to jump up and down and try and find them again. Tyquan Thornton, Kansas City Chiefs, is a free agent this year. He's trending in the right direction. He was a 4.28 guy at the combine. He is 25 years old, and he's got 12 catches, 15 catches for 318 yards, which are career highs. And wow, where the hell are the touchdowns? And how many touchdowns? And 3 touchdowns this year. So he is trending in the right direction. We know, oh, that's not a ton. No, it's not a ton, but they spread the ball around a lot, and there's some guys could be in front of him at Kansas City, but he's got that deep speed. And again, he's young, and like I said, he is trending in the right direction. And right now, he's cheap. What about Tyquan Thornton, Kansas City Chiefs? Because you're going to need 2 wide receivers.
Yeah,
you're going to need. I want to draft one at least one, and you're going to need one to be a free agency. So you're going to need at least 2 wide receivers in this upcoming cycle.
I'll be curious to see what his contract looks like, Scott. I do think one thing he brings is you have not a sacrificial X, but like where London is best is you can use him as XZ or slot, but you don't want him just confined to the X. So getting somebody who's that on line of scrimmage press beater that can decompress the defense and get you some vertical shots would be awesome. I think he's going to get an okay contract at the end of the day. I mean, the real prize, and we'll see if he gets paid here, Scott, but like if you want that type, Alec Pierce is the money.
He's on my list.
But
yeah,
you also have to pay London.
Alec Pierce, Colts is having, he's leading the league again, I believe, in yards per reception at like 24.5.
He's going to get paid.
He's a deep threat. I think they actually have him undervalued here at where's Alec Pierce? Because he's still on his rookie contract, so he's still cheap. Alec Pierce, they put his value on Spot Rack at 16. Which is what you're paying Darnell Mooney, which is it'd be a straight swap with Darnell Mooney. If that's what he ends up getting, he may go for more than that.
I'm expecting him to get somewhere 20 to 24. Personally, I think that's the market you're talking about there with Alec Pierce. But he's a really good player. Ball tracking, vertical speed. He's more than just that, but that's how they've found a good role for him out there.
How about Jacoby Myers as a veteran wide receiver? He's doing well. He's immediately plug and played after the trade, and he's doing well. He's been productive. I don't know much about why he keeps getting moved.
Bad teams.
Bad teams, and they get something for him. And once you become a trade guy, you become expendable. It happens in baseball all the time. Once a guy's traded, he ends up getting traded like 5 more times.
Yeah, no.
But Jacoby Myers could be that veteran guy that for a mid price. He's on 11 now and could be in that same price that Darnell Mooney switch. I'm looking for free agencies, y'all. I'm looking for wide receiver 2 Darnell Mooney swaps.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be willing to go into the 15 million range for those guys.
Yeah, I think that's a great call out. He's somebody who should help you beat man coverage a little bit better. He can do that Z stuff. He can swap into the slot as well. And he's a very smart receiver as well. Now I'll be curious to see. It might end up going to the Jags, I think, right? They traded him to the Jags. So we'll see how the rest of the season goes with him, with Travis Hunter out and everything. But no, he's definitely an intriguing one. There'll be a market for him this offseason because he's just.
I've got another one, and then we'll do a quick mock draft, y'all. What about Romeo Doubs? He's supposed to be a free agent as well. He's 26 years old, and he's having a solid season. He's on his 4th year of his rookie contract, headed to free agency. He's trended 400 yards, 675, 600, and 522 this year. 54% catch rate, so not great. But let's see, yards per game, 47. Yards per target is 7.8 is pretty good. Yards per reception at 12.7 is solid. And he'll be 26 in April. He's still young.
I think he's going to get paid pretty well also. Out of the guys you listed here so far, I'd imagine he's the second highest contract behind Alec Pierce. But again, that second contract hitting there, and with how I don't think he can be funneled as a number 1, but as a good number 2, it's great. The one thing about some of these wide receivers, Scott, is just resource allocation at the end of the day, because you are going to have to pay London a huge deal. So it makes it a little bit tougher. Like, do you want to put that much in the wide receiver room? Where me personally, I'd rather spend the money on the offensive line with Penix, but and you already have London here. Like, you can't let London walk. So it's tough. I'd probably right now, out of the names you've listed, Thornton makes a lot of sense, but I really like Jacoby Myers coming in, just getting a little bit more of that steady presence, the dependability, the ability to uncover quickly versus the vertical shots, and then paying London as well. I think that'd be the direction I go. And then in the draft, there's going to be wide receiver options day two for you to come in and supplement the room where Myers and London, that's a fine 1-2. And then you have somebody who can come in and potentially be that 3-4 this upcoming season and grow into a bit more. And I see some comments about Pickens as well in here from Corey. Pickens is going absolutely nowhere. Dallas has looked brilliant for doing that. He's one of the best 3 wide receivers in the league this season. And typically I don't like to tag Scott, but he's one given his unhinged play.
Spot Rack puts him at $30 million.
He's not getting out of Dallas. They're going to pay him. It's working for them. He's going to get franchise tagged or a
tag and trade.
I don't think tag and trade. I think they're going to keep him.
No, I mean, if they're not able to keep him, they would tag and trade him. So it would cost a lot. And Ron, when we're talking about Jacoby doesn't block, not a good fit. We're not making these moves assuming that it's the same offense personnel. We're building a team as a general manager would, which is without a coaching staff to a certain extent. Now, that said, free agents, I want them to be, and when I'm signing a free agent, I want them to come in and play right away. When I draft guys, I don't really care. I'm drafting them for 5 years, and hell, the Falcons change quarterbacks. They'll have 2 different coaches in 5 years. They need to be scheme independent when I'm drafting. But, as far as, again, when you say Jacoby doesn't block, not a good fit, I'm swapping him with Darnell Mooney. If Darnell Mooney was being who he was supposed to be, he'd be a huge asset to this offense, and he doesn't block either.
No.
So
you have Pitt.
They need a number 2 wide receiver option that can catch the ball first and foremost. And if I've got a guy that can do all that stuff, I'm not getting him for $15 million.
No. And I'm wide receiver blocking as much as anybody. I have to be, being an Iowa fan. Otherwise, I would pull my hair out with the wide receiver play.
But I know what you're saying, Ron. I get it. But again, this is a wide receiver 2 type, and wide receiver 2 money and available players, and you've got to get somebody. You don't want to bring you don't want to bring Darnell Mooney back on $19 million, do you?
No, and you have Drake London here who can function as that like pseudo tight end in the slot for the block heavy stuff. So it's going to be more so like, again, like not obviously a discount version of the Rams. That's underselling. Sorry, the kid's crying. If you hear that in the background, I apologize. But it's not. It's the
squirrel going up my eave right there.
Okay, we got discount Devontae Adams, who does not block for the Rams as well. But it's the uncovering in the red zone, the third down man coverage beating. Now it's obviously to a much lesser extent comparing Adams to Myers, but like you have the role filled. Would I prefer all those guys blocking like you mentioned? No, but you have a different skill set with Myers.
And I say the same thing about running backs, and then I promise we're going to do this quick. And then if Nick can't go, then we will do it quick. One point on this: if you are a threat to get the ball, you don't have to block as much because you're taking a guy with you wherever you go. We say this about running backs a lot. Can they pick up the blitz? Okay, there's other ways to do this. And that play to Darnell Mooney, I want you to go back and watch it. The deep pass to Darnell Mooney off play action. Eli Wilkinson, bless his heart, was one-on-one with the left end, stopped him. Bajan comes out, and he doesn't chip him or anything. But what he does is as soon as he comes out and around as an option at receiver, that end hesitates just enough that he's out of the play. So you don't necessarily have to block to be effective in removing your guy from the play if you are a threat as a receiver. And right now the Falcons haven't had a consistent threat at number 2, and they need one. They need
Mooney,
one.
Mooney was that last season. And to be fair to Scott, I see Michael's comment here. I know Scott's will bring this one up. It's before the broken collarbone too, which is fine.
Was it broken all last year too?
Yeah, it's just not his game, which is okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
We're not
He's
calling
a
him
smaller speed guy.
Yeah, and we're also not calling him soft.
And again, if he had been the guy he was last year, we'd be singing his praises. And I just got done saying, Michael, it's amazing, Scott. Don't be a dick. Listen, we'll have this conversation. I just got done saying, I don't care. I didn't bring in Darnell Mooney to block. He didn't have to block. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's
And
not,
like,
that's
don't
not
take
his
the
game.
blocking, like questioning the blocking ability out in space as like an indictment on his toughness. Like playing through the collarbone, it's just that's not his game, right? Like that's
I don't
fine.
care.
Yeah. No, but that
We
we're
could
just
be
saying
a,
like you
a
don't.
huge asset to this offense,
Yeah.
and without blocking.
Yeah.
He broke his collarbone. That was uh first day of spring training or of fall camp. I was there, and it just hasn't come. He hasn't come back this year.
Yeah.
Collarbone's 4 to 6 week injury. That's mid-September. We're at Thanksgiving. He's had a disappointing year. Spin it however you want to. That's a fact. However you want to blame it. I don't care about that either.
Yeah. And
He's
just with
not going
how
to be back
contracts
on
are.
$18 million.
Yeah. And with how contracts are in the NFL and his injury history before coming to Atlanta, it's just that's the business. So again, not an indictment on his toughness. Like
No.
Falcons have been weird with injury stuff. We'll just call it like that. But that's not why, as you said, that's not why he was brought in.
No,
And if he was,
that's not his game. I don't want him blocking guys.
No.
I want him burning guys down the field.
And you mentioned the point about the running back as well, Scott. I know I got to get going. Actually, I don't. I'm working from home today, so it's great. But the big thing with you mentioned the running back and wide receiver. You don't necessarily have to be an A in every bucket, but if you are, a pitfall as a pass protector or a blocker or something, you need to have some like gravity to you, right, Scott? Like a 3-point shooter, right? There's just like you have to have some attention, pulled away, space creation, even if the ball is not going to you. If like Derrick Henry, not a great pass protector, obviously not very good out of the backfield. But guess what? If you have him in the backfield and you're under center, linebackers are shooting downhill. So
there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Yeah,
is what we're saying on this. You can occupy a defender without having to be a concuss yourself blocker at 195 pounds.
And you can be a dog without being necessarily a blocker also. I think to Emmanuel Sanders, who was just like a psychopath at like 5'10", 5'11", 180, something like that. So I don't have any issue with it.
Going through, we started while we were talking. I started this mock draft. Cade McDonald, the guy we were talking about on the cover, he ends up going 25.
Yep.
As a defensive lineman to the Chargers. Now looking here at the Falcons here, and I don't know a lot of these guys, Nick. Edge rusher covered. CJ Allen, linebackers, the top guys, wide receiver and corner for me are the two biggest needs. Jacoby Lane, wide receiver. Browse got a choice of a bunch of good wide receivers here. So, unless I absolutely love Keith Abney, which I don't know anything about him, I would go wide receiver out of this bunch.
Yeah, wide receiver seems to be where the value is here. Probably, if I had to bet outside the wide receivers, the best player here is probably CJ Allen from Georgia, who's like just a maniac up front.
I can't use its number 2 this year on a linebacker. I can't do it.
Yeah, I hear you. I just wanted to give a shout out because I think he's probably will be the highest on my board. And you don't want to be a team that's bypassing talent if you can, but there's a lot of good.
A lot of it has to do with Ellis. I mean, if Ellis is gone, maybe.
Yeah.
But I feel like I can get I can get pluggers. I can get 100 tackle guys in free agency for $3 million. Mm-hmm. I can handle linebacker for cheap in free agency. Divine Diablo has been great, $7 million, and that makes him highly paid. I can get upgrades at linebacker for $3 to $5 million. I can't do that at wide receiver.
No, and it gives you a lot of value as well. Overall, I think probably the best player here would be Chris Bell. For me, he's the best one on the board. He's 6'1", 220, can make some downfield acrobatic catches, and if you get the ball in his hands, he is a problem. He's one that kind of scares me because he's coming from that Jeff Brom offense out there in Louisville, so he's not necessarily having to route guys up versus being schemed open. But the collection of talent here is really, really enticing. So Chris Bell is the one who probably stands out for me overall compared to the other talent available.
Yeah, and I understand, Corey. There's a big argument for Allen, and for me, it's not about Allen, the player. It's about my roster management, and can I upgrade the linebacker position for cheap? Yes, I can in free agency. Can I do that at wide receiver? No, I really can't. No. So for me, I want to use my top pick I want to use it on a premium position when I've got money to address some of my other deficiencies in free agency. Now, if Ellis is gone and Troy Anderson's gone, and I'm looking at, and I go through free agency and I don't have a linebacker, which could happen, draft comes after free agency, then we have a different conversation. Then I say, oh God, I need a starting linebacker. Then we have a different one right there. But right now I'd go this way. And AJ says, what about pushing wide receiver back to 2027? I could get another one.
Yeah, you need 3, 4.
I could get another wide receiver if Cam Coleman somehow slips to 20 and I'm there at 20, I can get another one. I can get another wide receiver.
Yeah.
Shannon, glad you could make it over on X. Good to see you. Glad you could make the live. All right. We're back here at linebacker. Definitely there. This is the 3rd round pick at 75 overall. Definitely there's a need at linebacker. The top guys on the board are linebacker, edge, safety, tight end, quarterback. And I'm going to go into this assuming that Kyle Pitts is gone. Eli Stowers is pretty good. More linebackers. And I have to go down 15 picks to find a wide receiver or a corner. I'm back to right now. I'm at linebacker, tight end, Nick.
And for me, I'm thinking long-term about practicing what I preach. And there's 2 offensive tackles here that I think are potential starters in the league. And if you can get that on a rookie contract, that's something that intrigues me a lot, especially with what you've had issues at. I think Nicky Prongos as well as Blake Miller are very intriguing. I also like Jake Galladay, linebacker from Cincinnati, a lot as well. But if you're talking value positions, long-term team building, I like both those tackles. I think both have starting potential in the league. They have like the requisite tools to be starters in the league, which is the first. I mean, tackles a lot of times, if they're great, you don't see them going this high. But I think that those are 2 that make some sense.
We'll go Blake. We'll go Blake on that. And we got a pick in the 4th round, 111. Tyreek Sapp, solid. There's another tackle. Edge, corner, Will Lee's our highest. Eric Singleton, there's your burner right there, y'all. If Eric Singleton was listed as a 1st rounder for a lot of this season, and now he's all the way down to the 4th round, I don't think he lasts that long. If I knew, Corey, I could get Eric Singleton in the 4th, I'd take CJ Allen in the 2nd. I'd be okay with that. I don't mind double dipping here, but I really want a corner just for this purposes. And
yeah, Will Lee, is he like the giant one? Is he like the really 6'3" one? I can't remember off the top of my head. But he's interesting. The best one, I mean, Scott, he's a nickel, so maybe you don't want him, but Xavier Scott from out of Illinois is a dog. He's really good. I think he's going to go back. Like, he's got a chance to be a top 50 pick. He's been injured this season. So now we're here.
He says maybe if Auburn continues to be awful, they won't realize how good Cam is. Not going to happen. Cam is so good. And remember, there's no guarantee that Cam's back at Auburn next year either.
Yep.
And here comes the list of broken quarterbacks that were overhyped 6 months ago. Cade, number 1 overall, now in the 5th. Drew Allar, Carson Beck. Someone asked me on Monday, where would you draft Carson Beck? I said I wouldn't.
Round 6, maybe.
Yeah, 5, day 3 at the earliest.
Late day 3.
Yeah.
I really like you're talking running back here. Justice Haynes might be the 2nd best running back in this class. So having him down here, he had an injury, so I don't know what that looks like. As far as like lottery, a dice roll here.
I need a running back, y'all. That's something we're not really talking about. I need a running back. Yeah. There's a couple decent, Carlos Washington doesn't have a carry in the NFL. The kid from Michigan State who had a great preseason, I don't remember his name because we haven't talked about him since.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Fast guy, broke off a couple of long runs. Someone in the comments can help me out, so I don't have to look it up real quick. But he'd be your number 2. Do you trust him? So if you like a running back here, I'd be happy with a running back here too.
I like Justice Haynes. Again, at the end of the day, like, I would be curious about some of the offensive line picks, just because that's where I'm at with this team. And once we get to this point, Scott, I'll be honest, I'm not as familiar with other than like the quarterbacks here, which
people have talked about Diego Pavi in the second. How about let's take a flyer on old Diego to close it out in the 7th. Lots of good running back options in free agency. Yeah, the top one's going to be Tyler Algier. I didn't think what happened?
You must have accidentally clicked CJ Allen instead of Chris Bell.
I didn't mean to do that. Well, there you go, Corey. I took CJ.
Did you see what the
I
top
wanted
thing
the wide
said
receiver there.
It said we should have taken CJ Allen, or should have taken Bell instead of CJ
You
Allen. Is what
drafted
it
CJ
suggested.
Allen. You should have taken Bell. I know. But hey,
Ran the wrong card up.
Yeah, I took the wrong card. You're fired. My runner is fired. No, that's okay. Again, we'll have a chance. We'll have a lot more information before now and then too, but free agency will be over. I expect the Falcons to sign a linebacker in free agency. Whether they bring Caden Ellis back or not, they're going to get another one in free agency. They can't go out there with, God bless him, J.D. Bertrand as their third. He's okay as a fourth, but they can't go back out there with him as the third running back. So on that note, had a lot of fun today. Going to remove that, and I'm going to say thank you to our Super Chat superstars, Denver Luke, Rusty, G. Bergen. Yes, Major, thank you for supporting the show today. Thank you to all of our members. I know Keith said he's really enjoyed doing it, Keith Robbins, so thank you so much for the plug. And Corey, yep, got it just for you. I'm ready to re-sign Zane. Give Zane a contract. Kickers are week-to-week contracts anyway. They don't get a whole lot of guaranteed money, but Zane looked pretty good. So on that note, little programming note, Thursday, that's tomorrow. I wouldn't count on Garrett being here because that means it's Thanksgiving. So y'all have a happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy your holiday. Working sports, you tend to forget that there are holidays because you work through the holidays, and I forgot. So happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I hope you get to spend some quality time with your loved ones and stay safe out there, everyone. Enjoy a really nice slate of games, obviously, for college football and NFL. There's some good games tomorrow. Falcons Jets is early, so we will be here about 4:45-ish, 4:30-ish, depending on how long the game goes. I'm usually live within 5 minutes of the final whistle. We will do a gut reaction on Sunday, and then we'll be back on Monday. So y'all have a great rest of your day. Nick, any last words?
I'd like to give the call out this time of the year, just in general. I know that it's fun celebrating the holidays, friends, family, football, fun, everything like that. But it also can be a pretty isolating time for a lot of people as well. So I like to put out the reminder. I'm out there on Twitter. I think the DMs are open. Hit me up. If you want to talk football, starting getting into draft stuff, give me a hard time about my Iowa Hawkeyes. But the resource I like to put out there is 988, which is the suicide and crisis lifeline nationally. So again, being down can feel permanent, but everything in life is temporary. So don't do anything rash. And I know it can be a rough time of year. So again, that number is 988 for the suicide hotline. And love all you. Hope you have a great holiday, Thanksgiving. And I'm excited for some turkey. You can talk to me as long as you don't disparage turkey. And AJ comes in and says, true, Nick, praying for those who are struggling.
Yeah. And Corey says, AJ likes the ham. Corey says he don't like turkey. I'm a vegetarian.
Yeah.
And I love Thanksgiving. I get the dressing, not the stuffing. I think that's the difference. Mm-hmm. Mashed potatoes and gravy. Yes, please. I absolutely love green bean casserole. And then my mom started making a corn casserole. So it's almost like, it's almost like cornbread quiche, almost real sweet. So it's delicious too. So for me, turkey was always last anyway. And I've been a vegetarian for a decade. There's plenty of good eats. I promise you that. So y'all have a great holiday. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Thanks for making this such an awesome Falcons show. You're a big part of it. Happy Thanksgiving, y'all.
Yeah, appreciate you.